Evening. Welcome to the White House, and welcome to the Juneteenth concert. Please welcome to the stage your MC for the evening, comedian Roy Wood Jr.
Yeah. Washington, D.C., how you doing? Make some noise, make some noise, make some noise. Good to see you all. Good to see you all. Good evening to everybody. Mr. President, Madam Vice President. Oh, no, sit down. Please have a seat. I was just saying good evening to you. Just good evening. And elected officials and everybody else, give yourselves a round of applause tonight for being out here. You look good. You look good. Elected officials, I see y'all got your lapel pins on, looking officially elected. Got to wear that lapel pin. You look good, everybody. Nice fabric. You brushed your teeth. I was checking them teeth while I was walking around looking. You look good. This is the second year in a row that the White House has held a Juneteenth concert. Yeah. And this is the fourth year in a row that we as an entire country will recognize Juneteenth as a federal holiday. Yeah. Thank you to President Biden for making that a holiday. June 19th is a federal holiday. We get the day off on June 19th. That's right. We get the day off for June 19th. Now, I don't know about some of y'all, but kind of think we need a week off. I'm not here to tell you, thank you for what you did. But, a week, I don't know if any of y'all ever been black before, but it has some stressful days. There are days when you're black and you just go, whoo, I need a week. We need a week for Juneteenth, maybe a month. You know what, 2 months. Why don't we just do 2 months for Juneteenth? Just draw up the paperwork for June, July 10th. We'll talk about it later. I'll talk to you about that. Juneteenth, you all, is celebrated each year nationally, and we recognize this holiday with the reverence and respect that it's always rightfully deserved. Long before Juneteenth was a nationwide celebration, Juneteenth was a celebration amongst black people in the liberated South. That's right. Joy, passion, and shouts of freedom emanated from Galveston, Texas. And these shouts for freedom, shout out to Texas, it made its way around the country. We are very, very fortunate, that Juneteenth always also falls during Black Music Month. And this evening, what's going to happen is that we're going to be very lucky. We're going to bear witness to a number of artists that are going to be performing music from numerous genres that are born out of the black experience. We're talking about gospel. We're talking about rhythm and blues. We're talking about soul. We're talking about jazz. We're talking about country. We're talking about all the genres. The artists that are going to be performing tonight continue the tradition that started by enslaved Americans who sought, created, and defined freedom for themselves long before the Emancipation Proclamation did it officially. Tonight, we're going to honor those ancestors through the evolution of melodies. Music has the power to calm your fears, fuel your faith, and give you unlimited perseverance. And before we get into the music tonight, because, we talk a lot about Juneteenth being a federal holiday, but I think we should also acknowledge a lot of the other progress that has happened in the last couple of years under this administration. My uncle is an Army veteran, and my uncle, I'm so thankful that there is now expanded health care with the VA. We have legislation now for cheaper prescription drugs because of this administration. Insulin is down to $35 if you're a senior. And I don't know if anybody here has paid for insulin before, but that is like the bottle service of prescription drugs. So we appreciate that $35 right there. They got an infrastructure law passed, and that was bipartisan. I don't even know. We had a gun safety bill, and it's been decades since we've had a decent one of those. They've invested in black colleges. We're talking about $16 billion. And if you got student loans, 160 billion of those have been wiped off the computer for you. I know we're here for Juneteenth, but it's just important to talk about some of these other things real quick. We're going to get to the music. 15 million new jobs under this administration. 2.8 million of those jobs black people hold. And I don't know how many of y'all know this, but right now, y'all, we're in the middle of the fastest growth in black business ownership that we have ever seen in the history of this, in decades. But of course, black businesses are going to grow when you have an administration that's giving capital to help people start black businesses. You're going to see more growth. If you are a black business owner or you aspire to be a black business owner, trust me, tonight is the night to ask him for the capital. He is right here. They talking about all the capital. That's the Treasury building right there. That's literally where they print the money. I don't know if y'all know that. That is the money printing building. Run by the ATM real quick and get the capital. If you can, Mr. President. We'll still be here, but we'll talk about it later. Finally tonight, we're going to be reminded that both the history of Juneteenth and the genre of black music prove that there is nothing our people cannot do. Enjoy the show.
Distinguished guests, please welcome the Vice President of the United States.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Please have a seat. Good evening. What a joy it is to be with everyone tonight. And oh, what my eyes behold. Happy Juneteenth, everybody. Happy Juneteenth. So we are here to celebrate America's newest national holiday. And it is wonderful to be with so many extraordinary leaders, starting with our incredible President, Joe Biden, the first ever second gentleman of the United States, my husband, Doug Emhoff, members of the United States Congress, and of course the leaders and the members of the Congressional Black Caucus, and everyone else who is here tonight. So, as a United States Senator, I was proud to co-sponsor a bill to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. And as Vice President, it was my honor to stand beside our President, Joe Biden, when he signed the legislation that made that dream a reality. Next Wednesday, across our nation, Americans will come together with generations of loved ones to celebrate Juneteenth, to celebrate Black excellence and leadership, culture and community, resilience and resistance, and to remember our nation's history in full. For more than 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, as we all know, 2 years after, hundreds of thousands of Americans in Texas were still enslaved. Then Union troops arrived in Galveston, and on June 19, 1865, the enslaved people of Texas learned they were free. On that day, they claimed their freedom, and today, as we celebrate Juneteenth, together we are reminded of the promise of America, a promise of freedom, liberty, and opportunity. Not for some, but for all. In many ways, the story of Juneteenth and of our nation is a story of our ongoing fight to realize that promise. Our ongoing fight to build a nation that is more equal, more fair, and more free. A nation where every person has the opportunity not to just get by, but get ahead. Since taking office with the support of so many of the leaders here today, President Biden and I have continued that fight. As Roy said, we forgave student loan debt for nearly 5 million Americans. We capped the cost of insulin for our seniors at $35 a month, and we are now making it so medical debt can no longer be included on your credit score. As Roy mentioned, we also passed the first major gun safety law in nearly 30 years. We appointed the first Black woman to sit on the highest court in our land. Her name is Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. And all this is to say, with the support of the leaders here and so many, we have made real progress, and we are clear-eyed. As we move our nation forward, there are those who are trying to take us backward. Across our nation, we witness a full-on attack on hard-fought, hard-won freedoms and rights, including the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body, the freedom to be who you are and love who you love openly and with pride, the freedom from fear of bigotry and hate, the freedom to learn and acknowledge our nation's true and full history, and the freedom that unlocks all others, the freedom to vote. This Juneteenth, we will hold a National Day of Action on Voting. And I call on all the leaders here to please join us in helping more Americans register to vote. Because while Juneteenth is a day for celebration, it is also a day for dedication, a day to rededicate ourselves to the ongoing and unfinished work of our American experiment, a day to renew our commitment to defend our freedoms, to honor our history, and to continue to fight for the promise of America. Tonight, then, to inspire us in that work, we are joined by a group of truly incredible artists. Through the struggles and successes of our history, Black artists like these have put song to our nation's fight for freedom. Through spirituals, blues, and gospel, through jazz, soul, and hip-hop, artists give voice to the joy and hope, ambition and aspiration, courage and conviction of the people of our nation. And now to introduce our first performer, I welcome back to the stage my friend Roy Wood Jr. Thank you all.
President of the United States.
Whoa! White House lawns never seen. Please have a seat. You have one. White House lawns never seen anything like this before. Well, that was outstanding. Thanks to all the performers here tonight and to help us feel the power of black culture that is American culture. With a fitting tribute to Juneteenth. You know, I was proud to have made Juneteenth a federal holiday. And I'm grateful to the members of Congress who are here today who helped make it possible. I'm not going to start to name them because I'll miss somebody. But it wasn't just a symbolic gesture. It was a statement of fact. It was about a statement of faith. It was testimony of a testament to the resilience of generations of black Americans who kept their eyes set on the nation's North Star. That North Star was the idea that we're all created equal in the image of God and deserve to be treated equally throughout our lives. While we've never lived up to it, we've never fully walked away from it either. That's because of you and generations before you who led the march from slavery to freedom toward more than a perfect union. But let's be clear, they're old ghosts in new garments trying to take us back. Well, there are. Taking away your freedoms, making it harder for black people to vote or have your vote counted. Closing doors of opportunity, attacking the values of diversity, equity, and inclusion. If you can believe it, banning books about black experiences in America. Trying to erase and rewrite history. Our history is not just about the past, it's about our present and our future. It's whether that future is the future for all of us, not just for some of us. Folks, black history is American history. That's why Kamala and I and our administration will always uplift it and protect it. Let me close with this. I just returned from France, where I visited the beaches of Normandy to commemorate the 80th anniversary of D-Day, which was the first step in liberating all of Europe and changing civilization. On that hallowed ground, I spoke about a brave American soldier who fought tyranny for the hope, freedom of democracy. That includes the Red Ball Express, a convoy of mostly black soldiers who landed in Normandy in wake of the D-Day to rush supplies to the frontiers and the front lines. These black soldiers were a link in a distinguished line of patriots, enslaved and free, who risked their lives in every war since the founding of our ideals, and we don't know fully what American soil is. Equality and freedom. One of those soldiers of the Red Ball Express who fought for freedom on distant shores was a civil rights lawyer who fought for freedom here at home. 61 years ago this week, he was gunned down at home in Mississippi in the poison of white supremacy. But all these years later, his spirit endures. You all know his name. It was Medgar Evers. Last month, I awarded Medgar Evers the Presidential Medal of Freedom, our nation's highest civilian honor, posthumously. Because life reminds us of our change that we have to keep redeeming the soul of America. Folks, that's what Juneteenth is all about. This is why I awarded the Medal of Freedom to Miss Oprah Lee as well, her grandmother of Juneteenth. She knew so long as she was denied, our freedom can never be secured. Her decades-long march brought her here to the White House when she stood by my side as I signed the Juneteenth federal holiday and handed her the signing pen for helping make Juneteenth possible. A day of profound weight and power, a day to remember the original sin of slavery, and the extraordinary capacity to emerge from those powerful moments and painful moments with a better vision for ourselves. A day that reminds us we have a hell of a lot more work to do. So let's keep marching. Let's keep the faith. And let us remember who we are. We're the United States of America. And there's nothing beyond our capacity if we do it together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you for tonight.
Please welcome the 46th President of the United States of America, Joe Biden.
John, how are you? Please, sit down. At last, the hour had come. Dawn, 6th of June, 1944. The wind was pounding as it is today, and always has against these cliffs. 225 American Rangers arrived by ship, jumped into the waves and stormed the beach. All they could see was the outline of the shore and the enormity of these cliffs. And I'd like to look, I know I'll get in trouble with the Secret Service if I go to the edge and look over, but think of those cliffs as my host just showed me. That's what we're standing on top of. All they could hear was the crack of bullets hitting ships, sand, rocks, hitting everything. All they knew was time was of the essence. They had only 30 minutes to eliminate the Nazi guns high on this cliff. Guns that could halt the Allied invasion before it even began. But these were American Rangers. They were ready. They ran toward the cliffs and mines planted on the beach by Field Marshal Rommel exploded around them, but still they kept coming. Gunfire rained above them, but still they kept coming. Nazi grenades thrown from above exploded against the cliffs, but still they kept coming. Within minutes, they reached the base of this cliff. They launched their ladders, their ropes, and grappling hooks, and they began to climb. When the Nazis cut their ladders, the Rangers used the ropes. When the Nazis cut their ropes, the Rangers used their hands. And inch by inch, foot by foot, yard by yard, the Rangers literally clawed their way up this mighty precipice until at last they reached the top. They breached Hitler's Atlantic Wall, and they turned in that one effort the tide of the war that began to save the world. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday I paid my respects at the American Cemetery just a few miles from here, where many of those Rangers who died taking this cliff are buried. I spoke of what the fallen had done to defend freedom. Today, as I look out at this battlefield and all the bunkers and bomb craters that are still surrounded, one thought comes to mind. My God, how did they do it? How were these Americans willing to risk everything, dare everything, and give everything? There were Americans like Sergeant Leonard Lommel from New Jersey. He was one of the first Rangers to jump off his ship and run toward the cliff. He almost was shot right above the hip initially, and wasn't sure, but he was. He kept going. At one point, he was scaling the cliff. Another Ranger yelled, "I'm not sure I can make it." And Lommel yelled back with every ounce of strength he had in him, "You've got to hold on." And he did, and they did. Americans like Sergeant Tom Ruggiero from Massachusetts. A German shell hit his boat as he was approaching the shore. Everything exploded. The sergeant was knocked into the freezing water. And as he told it, he began to utter a prayer. "Dear God, don't let me drown. I want to get in and do what I'm here and supposed to do." Americans like Colonel James Rudder, Texas. When the military asked for a battalion for this daring mission, he raised his hand and said, "My Rangers can do the job." He knew their capacity. He knew the strength of their character. A few days after they scaled this cliff, he wrote a condolence letter to a mother of one of the Rangers who gave his life here. And that letter said, "A country must be great to call for the sacrifice of such men. A country must be great to call for the sacrifice of such men." And Americans like John Wardell from New Jersey. John is here. John, we love you, man. Thank you for all you've done. Deserve that and a lot more, John. Just 18 years old, he deployed to this cliff to replace the surviving Rangers on that D-Day invasion. He would go on to fight across France and Germany. In early December 1944, during one of those battles, shrapnel pierced his skull. But by Christmas, he was back, fighting with his unit. And here's what he said about what the notes he kept at that time. He said, "Knowing that my buddies and I always looked out for one another. That's why he came back. That's why he fought so hard to get back. He always looked out, and his buddies looked out for one another." When we talk about democracy, American democracy, we often talk about the ideals of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. What we don't talk about is how hard it is. How many ways we're asked to walk away, how many instincts are to walk away. The most natural instinct is to walk away, to be selfish, to force our will upon others, to seize power, never give up. American democracy asks the hardest of things, to believe that we're part of something bigger than ourselves. So democracy begins with each of us. It begins when one person decides there's something more important than themselves. When they decide the person they're serving alongside of is someone to look after. When they decide the mission matters more than their life. When they decide that their country matters more than they do. That's what the Rangers at Pointe du Hoc did. That's what they decided. That's what every soldier and every Marine who stormed this beaches decided. a feared dictator, had conquered a continent, had finally met his match. Because of them, the war turned. They stood against Hitler's aggression. Does anyone doubt that they would want America to stand up against Putin's aggression here in Europe today? They stormed the beaches alongside our allies. Does anyone believe these Rangers would want America to go it alone today? They fought to vanquish a hateful ideology in the 30s and 40s. Does anyone doubt they wouldn't move heaven and earth to vanquish hateful ideologies of today? These Rangers put mission and country above themselves. Does anyone believe they would exact any less from every American today? These Rangers remembered with reverence those who gave their lives in battle. Could they or anyone ever imagine that America would do the same, wouldn't do the same? They believed America was a beacon to the world. I'm certain they believed that it would be that way forever. You know, we stand today, where we stand was not sacred ground on June the 5th. But that's what it became on June the 6th. The Rangers who scaled this cliff didn't know they would change the world, but they did. I've long said that history has shown that ordinary Americans can do extraordinary things when challenged. There's no better example of that in the entire world than right here at Pointe du Hoc. Rangers from farms and cities in every part of America, from homes that didn't know wealth and power. They came to a shoreline that none of them would have picked out on a map. They came to a country many of them had never seen, for a people they had never met. But they came. They did their job. They fulfilled their mission. And they did their duty. They were part of something greater than themselves. They were Americans. I stand here today as the first president to come to Pointe du Hoc when none of those 225 brave men who scaled this cliff on D-Day are still alive. None. But I'm here to tell you that with them gone, the wind we hear coming off this ocean will not fade. It will grow louder as we gather here today. It's not just to honor those who showed such remarkable bravery on that day, June 6, 1944. It's to listen to the echoes of their voices, to hear them, because they are summoning us, and they're summoning us now. They ask us, what will we do? They're not asking us to scale these cliffs, but they're asking us to stay true to what America stands for. They're not asking us to give or risk our lives, but they are asking us to care for others in our country more than ourselves. They're not asking us to do their job. They're asking us to do our job, to protect freedom in our time, to defend democracy, to stand up aggression abroad and at home, to be part of something bigger than ourselves. My fellow Americans, I simply refuse to believe that America's greatness is a thing of the past. I still believe there's nothing beyond our capacity in America when we act together. We're the fortunate heirs of a legacy of these heroes, those who scale the cliffs of Pointe du Hoc. But we must also be the keepers of their mission, the keepers of their mission, the bearers of the flame of freedom that they kept burning bright. That is the truest testimonial to their lives. Our actions every day to ensure that our democracy endures and the soul of our nation endures. To come here simply to remember the ghosts of Pointe du Hoc isn't enough. We need to hear them. We have to listen to them. We need to listen to what they had. We need to make a solemn vow to never let them down. God bless the fallen. God bless the brave men who scaled these cliffs. May God protect our troops. God bless America.
1974 will present commemorative second lieutenant bars to members of the class of 2024 as they take their place in the long gray line. The class of 1974, which just celebrated its 50th class reunion here at West Point, has developed a special relationship with the class of 2024. Since June 2019, members of the class of 1974 have engaged with and supported the class of 2024 every step of the way from our day to graduation. The cadet phase of bonding and mentorship between these two classes culminates today when the class of 1974 presents a set of second lieutenant bars engraved with 74-24. The representatives of the class of 1974 presenting the bars have distinguished records of service to the armed forces and the nation during times of war and in peace. I will introduce them to you now. Seated on the north side of the dais, to your left, Lieutenant General Gary J. Anderson, U.S. Army retired, and Colonel Gregory C. Gardner, U.S. Army retired. Seated on the south side of the dais, to your right, Mr. Stephen D. Marino and Colonel John R. Martin, U.S. Army retired. Gentlemen, we welcome you back to attend this special graduation ceremony. It is a pleasure and honor to have you here with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a round of applause for the class of 1974 and their outstanding dedication to the class of 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, and members of the class of 2024, just as the long gray line represents the connection of all graduates throughout the Academy's storied history, today's faculty processional recognizes the dedication and academic excellence of all United States Military Academy faculty, both past and present. Please welcome representatives of the faculty of the United States Military Academy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the platform our distinguished guests. United States Congressman from the state of Arkansas and West Point Board of Visitors Chairman, the Honorable Steve Womack. United States Representative for New York's 18th Congressional District and West Point Class of 2004, the Honorable Pat Ryan. The Commandant of Cadets, Major General Lori L. Robinson. The Dean of the Academic Board, Brigadier General Shane R. Reeves. The Deputy Athletics Director, Military, Colonel Gretchen Nunez. The Senior Advisor for Character Integration, Dr. Jeff Peterson. The West Point Chief of Staff, Colonel Con Deep. The United States Corps of Cadets Command Sergeant Major Robert T. Craven. Members of the Academic Board and other senior academy leaders. Attention!
Staff, attention. Class, attention.
Dais, attention! Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the entrance of the official party.
Class, present arms.
Dais, present arms.
Staff, present arms.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 25th Secretary of the Army, the Honorable Christine E. Wormuth. The 41st Chief of Staff of the Army, General Randy A. George. And the 61st Superintendent of the United States Military Academy, Lieutenant General Stephen W. Gilland. Ladies and gentlemen, the 46th President of the United States of America, Joe Biden.
Staff, order, arms. Class, order, arms. Uncover.
Dais, order, arms. Dais, uncover.
Staff, uncover.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the invocation by Father Matt Palikowski.
Almighty God, we live in interesting times, which we seem to have seen before. 100 days ago, General Martin Dempsey noted uncanny similarities between 1974 and 2024. Tensions within our society, threats from without, and so prophetically declared that this class's motto, like none before, reverently dictates what we want them to be, what they believe they can be, what the world needs them to be. So while this COVID class came of age, needing 3 R days to report to the cadet in the red sash, taking classes on teams, kidnapping goats and screaming in the night, beyond the walls of West Point, totalitarians invade their neighbors, endanger peace, and spew hatred here at home. And yet, God, you are the light of the world, and you make all things new. In this present darkness, we see glimmers of light, but none so bright as this class you've collected for a time such as this, when bold and brazen strength of character is needed to lead and inspire our Army and our nation. And so, Almighty God, this morning our prayers go up like none before, that you grace these ceremonies of our class of 2024. Amen.
Deus, take seats.
Staff, cover.
Please be seated.
Class, take seats. Staff, dismissed.
Please welcome the 61st Superintendent of the United States Military Academy, Lieutenant General Stephen W. Gilland.
Mr. President, Congressman Womack, Congressman Ryan, Secretary Wormuth, General George, distinguished guests and alumni, teammates, family and friends, good morning and welcome to West Point and your United States Military Academy. On behalf of the entire West Point team, we are honored to have you here today to celebrate these 1,036 outstanding cadets of the class of 2024 as they graduate and commission as the newest officers and leaders of character in our Army. First, a very special welcome to the parents, grandparents, siblings, families, and friends of our graduates who are here today. A very special welcome and thank you for the love, support, and encouragement you have given them along their journey at the United States Military Academy. I'd like to acknowledge the members of the 50-year affiliate class for our graduating class, the Pride of the Corps class of 1974. Thank you all for gripping hands with these new leaders over the past 4 years. We are grateful for your support and mentorship to them and for showing them the connectivity and the strength of the long gray line. Developing leaders takes a village, and we thank you all for being part of our village these past 4 years. Class of 2024, like none before, congratulations and well done. Today, your cadet experience may come to an end, but it really marks a milestone in your personal journey as you assume the mantle of leadership as officers in the United States Army. We know you all are looking forward to what's ahead, moving, living on your own. Some of you are getting married in the next few days. However, I would ask you to take a moment to reflect on these last 4 years here. Think about all the opportunities and experiences you've had and the challenges you've overcome on the road to becoming a leader of character. Think about all the hard work, maybe some blood, a lot of sweat, as well as grit, toughness, determination, and a continual pursuit of excellence. Think about the friends you've made and the relationships developed, the camaraderie with teammates, the tax instructors, coaches, maybe some old grads who encouraged and mentored you, and the families and the family members and the friends who supported you. Take a moment to appreciate, thank all the people who have helped you get here, to be grateful for those experiences and opportunities that have helped shape you these past 4 years. As you pursue this journey as a leader of character, remember that this is about the responsibility of service, both to country and to others. It is about challenging yourself and others to be better teammates, better officers, better leaders of character. It starts with you each and every day. It's also about the responsibility of leadership as Army officers, your responsibility to support and defend the Constitution, your responsibility to be standard bearers, to lead by example, to embody what right looks like, and most importantly, your responsibility, your obligation to the citizens of our nation and to our soldiers, America's sons and daughters, your obligation to give them your very best leadership every day. Also take a moment to reflect and understand what it means to be a graduate of the United States Military Academy. People expect more from you. Our nation expects more from you. You represent this institution and the United States Army. You will grip hands with generations past and present, leaders of character who have answered their nation's call to serve, guided by the Army values and the ideals, duty, honor, country. Just as they have inspired in you, you will now, in turn, inspire future generations. Class of 2024, you are ready to face the challenges that await you, I have no doubt. Prepared to live honorably, lead honorably, and demonstrate excellence in all you do. Congratulations and Godspeed to all of you. Mr. President, Madam Secretary, General George, on behalf of all your teammates at the United States Military Academy, it's an honor to present this outstanding class to you this morning as our nation's newest leaders of character. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce this morning's commencement speaker, the 46th President of the United States, President Joe Biden.
Thank you. General Galland, Secretary Wormuth, General George, members of Congress. And by the way, one of the members of Congress up here, I'm flying up with him. He's bragging about being from this district and maybe graduated from this academy. Stand up, Ryan. Stand up, Ryan. Fellow graduate, right there. Faculty, staff, soldiers, officers, family, and friends, most of all, West Point class of 2024. In 1776, British forces had driven General Washington's army out of New York City. The British Navy dominated the coast of New England. If they could control the Hudson, they could cut colonies in half, divide and conquer. A classic strategy, but General Washington saw it coming. He knew there was a place on the Hudson where the river bent, with a plateau overhead. The Americans placed artillery batteries along the river, stretched an iron chain across the water, and built a fort on a plain called West Point. West Point, George Washington said. George Washington said West Point was the key of America. He was right. The British never captured the Hudson. They failed to divide and conquer us. And a few years later, they surrendered at the Battle of Yorktown. You got it, man. Most powerful empire in the world defeated by an army of ordinary people driven by the sacred cause of freedom. And I might add, you're about to become full-time members of the most honorable and the most consequential fighting force in the history of the world. That's not hyperbole, of the world. That's the truth. Ever since, men and women of West Point have stayed true to this mission. And today, 1,036 graduates of the class of 2024 will join the long gray line that has never failed us and never, ever will. Together, you survived the beast barracks and countless hours of PT. You completed rigorous academics at America's first, toughest engineering school in the country. You met the highest standards of discipline. And of course, no one's perfect. Even Ulysses S. Grant and Dwight D. Eisenhower are written up from time to time. You know, I'm not kidding. When they were cadets here at West Point, if that sounds familiar to you, maybe I can help you today. In keeping with a long-standing tradition, as Commander-in-Chief, I absolve all cadets on restriction for minor conduct offenses. If you have any questions, the superintendent can clarify what minor means. Of course, your time here wasn't all difficult. The class did plenty of celebrating. Every time you beat Navy. Now look, lots of West Point classes have some wins over Navy, but not every class over 4 years period beats Navy 51 times. As they say in Delaware, you've done good. A few weeks ago, I was honored to present the Commander-in-Chief Trophy to the Black Knights at the White House. I told them I don't take sides, but my son Bo was a decorated major in the United States Army. He spent a year in Iraq, and he always made it clear who he expected the family to root for in the game in Philadelphia. Parenthetically, I was appointed by the fellow I ran against when I was 29 years old to the Naval Academy. I was one of 10. I wanted to play football. And the day I was supposed to go down for the interview, a classmate of mine who was also one of the 10 appointed to be chosen from, named Steve Dunning, came to pick me up. And I had found out 2 days earlier they had a quarterback named Roger Staubach and a halfback named Joe Bellino. I said, oh, I'm not going there. I went to Delaware. Not a joke. And by the way, that same fellow was a wonderful man. In our last debate, when I was 29 years old, the first question he was asked at the debate was, do you have any regrets, Senator Boggs? He said, no. Then we came to the very end of the debate where I spoke and then he was to conclude. He stood up and he said, you know, I was asked whether I had any regrets. I said no, but I have one. Had Joe Biden gone to the Naval Academy when I appointed him, he'd still have 7 months left on and wouldn't be able to run. Cadets, as proud as your country is today, your family's even prouder. At our day, 4 years ago, because of the pandemic, they could not spend the day on post. It was a challenging way to begin the West Point experience. So I'm thrilled today so many of your loved ones get to see you here. To everyone who helped raise this remarkable young people, this is your day as well, because we know, as the English poet John Milton wrote, they also serve who only stand and wait. Cadets, it's time for you to stand up now and thank your parents. Stand up. Turn and thank them. You owe them big. The class of 24, this is an extraordinary group. You include the Army's all-time home run leader, athletes who've swum laps around Manhattan Island, which I can never quite figure out. and the son of an Iraqi interpreter of American forces, one of your class's 2 Rhodes Scholars. You hail from all 50 states and 12 countries. Some of you are third-generation West Pointers. Others are the first in your family to join the U.S. Armed Forces. At least one of you has a twin brother graduating from Annapolis this year. I tell you what, I want to be at that family reunion. Every time you show up at the Army-Navy game, I don't know how the hell you're going to do it, but at any rate. Look, I wish I could praise every single cadet one by one because you deserve it. You make our entire nation proud, and that's not hyperbole, you do. As your Commander-in-Chief, let me say again, congratulations, you've earned every bit of what you're going to get today. Look, the motto of this class, like none before, was an appropriate choice for your class because you're graduating into a world, as a student of history, I can tell you, like none before. I've been a senator since I was 29 years old, never left government. And ladies and gentlemen, the world is not only changing rapidly, it's also a pace of change is accelerating. And the range of missions that our servicemen are carrying out are like none before as well. There's never been a time in history when we've asked our military to do so many different things in so many different places around the world, all at the same time. Right now, American soldiers are supporting brave Ukrainians in their fight for freedom. Our soldiers are working around the clock to keep munitions and equipment moving by land, sea, and air. They're training Ukrainians in how to use advanced weapon systems like HIMARS, Patriots, and Abrams tanks. And they're sharing lessons in tactical combat, casualty care with Ukrainian medics and surgeons. There are no American soldiers at war in Ukraine. I'm determined to keep it that way. But we are standing strong with Ukraine, and we will stand with them. We're standing against a man who I've known well for many years, a brutal tyrant. We may not, and we will not walk away. Putin was certain that NATO would fracture. I met with him right after being elected president right after I was sworn in, and we talked about this very issue. In the fall, he decided to, look, I shouldn't get into this probably, because it gets me a little excited. But Putin was certain that NATO would fracture. I said to him in Switzerland that you want the Finlandization of Ukraine. You're going to get the Finlandization, you're going to get the NATOization of Europe. He had a brazen vision, which we stepped up and stopped. Instead, today, the greatest defense alliance in the history of the world, stronger than ever. Finland and Sweden are our newest members, and they're tough. In the Middle East, while we conduct urgent diplomacy to secure immediate ceasefire that brings hostages home, our Army and Navy have deployed a temporary pier on the Mediterranean in record time to increase life-saving aid to the Palestinians. The U.S. Air Force has conducted food drops, delivering tens of thousands of meals to the people of Gaza. In the face of Iran's recent unprecedented attack on Israel, we brought partners together, including Arab nations, to repel the sustained assault. The man running the operation on the ground, General Eric Kurilla, head of U.S. Central Command, West Point, 88. General Kurilla did a superb job. I was in the Situation Room with our national security team. He was on the screen from the region. He knew the attack was coming, but we weren't sure precisely when it would begin. Then at 6:34 p.m., the general said to me, "Mr. President, we just got multiple ballistic missile launches from Iran toward Israel." 6 minutes later, he said there are 30 missiles in the air. 4 minutes after that, he said there's 75 missiles in the air. Then he said over 100 missiles in the air. Under incredible pressure, General Kurilla and the Combined Joint Task Force performed exceptionally. from sea, air, and bases nearby. Thanks to the 99% of the missiles and drones of Iran never reached their targets because of the quality of our forces. We swiftly ended what could have been a devastating attack, and we de-escalated the conflict when it easily could have gone the other way. On the other side of the world, in the Indo-Pacific, we deepened our alliances. We've created new ones, like AUKUS, our new strategic partnership with Australia and the United Kingdom, or the trilateral cooperation we forged with Japan and the Republic of Korea that no one thought was possible. Two of our allies cooperating on strategic defense thanks to our leadership. We've begun the new trilateral partnership with Japan and the Philippines as well. We elevated the Quad, together with Japan, India, and Australia, to advance free, open, secure, and prosperous Indo-Pacific. We're standing up for peace and stability across the Taiwan Straits. We depended on our strategic partnership with Vietnam. I wonder if the classes of '74 here today could have imagined that they were sitting where you were at the same time and during Vietnam. The upshot of all this, across vastly different regions and very different challenges, our women and men in uniform are hard at work, strengthening our alliances, because no country has allies like ours, investing in deterrence, so anyone who thinks they can threaten us thinks again, defending our values by standing up to tyrants, and safeguarding the peace by protecting freedom and openness. Thanks to the U.S. Armed Forces, we're doing what only America can do. As the indispensable nation, the world's only superpower, and the leading democracy in the world. Never forget, America is the strongest when we lead not only by our example of our power, but by the power of our example. You can clap for that. I want to mention one additional way we made progress. Every member of our armed forces must always be safe and respected in the ranks. For the first time in nearly a decade, rates of sexual assault and sexual harassment have gone down across the active duty forces. It's long past time to end the scourge of sexual violence in the military, once and for all, and we can do this. Cadets, make no mistake, there remains a hard power world. You can't draw any other conclusion when powerful nations try to coerce their neighbors or terrorists attempt evil plots. That's why I'm making historic investments in our military, overhauling our defense industrial base. For decades, America has had the most powerful military in the world. And that happens because we choose to make it happen. I have always been willing to use force when required to protect our nation, our allies, our core interests. And when anyone targets American troops, we will deliver justice to them. That happened earlier this year when 3 heroic members of the U.S. Army Reserve were killed in an unmanned drone attack in northeast Jordan. In response, we launched dozens of successful airstrikes against Iran-backed militants, and we'll never forget to honor the memory of those warriors who gave their lives in the fight against terrorism. Cadets, West Point has made you leaders of character. In minutes, you'll be United States Army officers. In time, some of you will serve in powerful roles at headquarters, the Pentagon, even in the White House, to confront challenges a previous generation of soldiers couldn't imagine. When that happens, hold fast to your values you learned here at West Point. Duty, honor, country. Hold fast to your honor code, which says, quote, "We will not lie, steal, or cheat, nor tolerate those who do," end of quote. And above all, hold fast to your oath. On your very first day at West Point, you raised your right hands and took an oath, not to a political party, not to a president, but to the Constitution of the United States of America, against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Members of the long gray line have given their lives for that Constitution. They have fought to defend the freedoms that it protects: the right to vote, the right to worship, the right to raise your voice in protest. They have saved and sacrificed to ensure, as President Lincoln said, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. West Pointers know better than anyone. Freedom is not free. It requires constant vigilance. And from the very beginning, nothing is guaranteed about our democracy in America. Every generation has an obligation to defend it, to protect it, to preserve it, to choose it. Now is your turn. Remember what over 1,000 graduates of West Point wrote to the class of 2020 4 years ago. The oath you've taken here, quote, has no expiration date, they said. Not for you, not for your country. It's important to your nation, now as it ever been. Keep it, honor it, and live it. Cadets, let me close with this. In the early days of our nation, as General Washington said, West Point was the key of America. Today, you're still the key because of your commitment to protect what makes America, America. We're unique in the world. We're the only country in the world founded on an idea. Other countries are founded based on geography, ethnicity, religion, or other attributes, but we're the only one founded on an idea, not figuratively, literally. And the idea is we're all created equal, deserve to be treated equally throughout our lives. But ideas need defenders to make them real. That's what you, the class of 2024, are all about. Defenders of freedom, champions of liberty, guardians, and I mean this, guardians of American democracy. And just as this historic institution helped make America free over 2 centuries ago, and just as generations of West Point graduates have kept us free through every challenge and danger, you must keep us free at this time, like none before. I know you can, I know you will, for we are the United States of America, and there's nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. May God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Congratulations, class of 2024.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please remain standing for the presentation of the class gift. The class president, Cadet Gary Thomas Ward III from Jasper, Alabama, will present a panoramic photo of the class of 2024 to the president.
President Biden, on behalf of the class of 2024, please accept this class picture as a token of our appreciation for your commencement address today. Thank you, Mr. President.
I will hang it proudly in the White House.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please remain standing for the singing of The Corps. A cherished West Point song, it is second in importance only to the alma mater. The Corps was first sung at the graduation ceremony in 1911.
Class, attention.
Deus, attention.
The Corps, the Corps, the Corps, the Corps bareheaded salute it with eyes up, thanking our
ghostly assemblage, drinks of the grown dead, and our hearts are standing attention, while we wait for their passing tread. The core of today we salute you, the core of an earlier day we salute. We follow close order behind you, where you have pointed the way. We salute the long gray line of our stretches through the years of the century toll, and the last one feels to the marrow the grip of your far-off hold. Grip hands with us now, though we see not. Grip hands with the strength in our hearts, as the long line stiffens and straightens with the thrill that your presence imparts. Grip hands, though it be from the shadows, while we swear as you dare of your or living or dying to honor the core and the core and the core.
Dais, take seats.
Class, take seats.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the Dean of the Academic Board, Brigadier General Shane R. Reeves.
Class of 2024, your education has prepared you to be a leader of character, sworn to uphold the values embodied in our Constitution. So, on behalf of the Academic Board, I present these graduates and recommend each as worthy of the Bachelor of Science degree. The President of the United States will present diplomas to those cadets awarded summa cum laude designation, class valedictorian, cadet first captain, class president, and the Army Athletic Association trophy winners. Will the members of the class of 2024